Welcome back, everybody, to Deep Dive. Today, we were diving headfirst into the world of UFOs. You know,
UAP?
yeah, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, to be precise.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at a transcript from a recent media roundtable with Dr. John Kozlowski, the director of AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office.
Right, the ones who are supposed to be investigating these UAP reports.
And
Now,
and they've
made some pretty interesting statements.
they've said some things that have sparked a lot of debate, shall we say.
A lot of debate.
Yeah.
And the public wants to know, what's the deal with all this secrecy?
Absolutely. And, right off the bat, Dr. Kozlowski kind of confirms, that UAPs are real.
I mean, they're not denying it anymore, right?
Yeah, they're not denying it.
1,600 reports.
They've got over 1,600 reports that they've received so far, and a significant number of them remain unresolved.
Which is fascinating. Are they saying that some of these are just like, I don't know.
Well, and he's very careful, in his wording.
Mm-hmm.
But while he emphasizes that they haven't found proof of extraterrestrial activity,
Not yet.
he's not ruling it out either.
See, that's the thing that gets me,
Yeah.
is that they're like
They leave the door open.
keeping the door open just a crack.
Just a crack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, they're looking at all sorts of potential explanations, including the possibility that, this could be technology that's just so advanced.
That we don't even understand it.
We can't even comprehend it yet.
Right. And to me, that's scarier
Yeah.
than aliens.
Well, it's and it's the unknown.
Right.
That's the thing,
What really jumped out at me was when he was talking about
Yeah.
this handful of cases
Yeah.
from the past year and a half
Yeah.
that he finds perplexing.
He specifically says that he personally finds them perplexing.
Now, these aren't just, your average, like, blurry lights in the sky, right?
No, we're talking multiple eyewitnesses.
It's like video footage.
Sometimes video footage, and we're talking about shapes,
Orbs, cylinders,
triangles.
Now, that's not your typical weather balloon or
Yeah.
drone.
No.
And the thing is that
What are they not telling us?
that's the question, right?
Why all the secrecy?
Why all the secrecy?
And why are they just now releasing this information?
Well, and that's, it's a good question because,
Yeah.
As we've seen, and as he even points out in the transcript, most of these UAP reports come from near U.S. military installations.
So is it just a reporting bias?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Are we just seeing a small fraction,
A sliver.
a sliver of the bigger picture because of where these things are happening?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But we are seeing more and more commercial pilots coming forward, right?
That's true.
So that suggests...
Which suggests greater awareness and a willingness to actually report these things.
Which is interesting because you would think that they would have more to lose
Yeah, you would think that, but,
than like but maybe they just see it as, they're up there in the sky, they see these things, they're like, well,
Yeah.
this needs to be reported.
And they have the training to know
Exactly. They have the training to know.
what they're looking at.
They can differentiate between a plane and a bird
Right.
and something that's just completely unknown.
Okay, so what about this correlation that they mentioned?
Well, they've observed this link between the rise of mega satellite constellations.
Like Starlink.
Like Starlink, yeah.
Okay.
And reports of unusual lights in the sky.
So are people just
So are people just seeing...
mistaking
satellite flares for something more exotic?
I guess that makes sense, but at the same time.
Yeah, well, and that's where education comes in,
Okay.
because we need to be able to differentiate between something that's explainable,
It's satellite.
a satellite flare,
All right.
and something that is truly unidentified,
Truly a UAP.
a true UAP. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to this issue of transparency. Because AARO acknowledges that the public wants more information.
Yeah.
But they keep falling back on this need to protect sensitive sources and methods.
It's the classic national security argument.
Right.
And it's like, how long can they keep us in the dark?
Seriously.
And Dr. Kozlowski does outline some efforts that AARO is making to expedite the declassification process.
But it still feels like...
But it's like a carefully orchestrated dance.
Yeah.
They're revealing just enough to keep us interested, but holding back the really groundbreaking stuff.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, what's the end game here?
Are they ever going to be truly transparent
That's the question.
about what they know?
Yeah.
I mean, he mentioned collaborating with academia to facilitate more open research in the future.
Yeah.
But again,
That's
a lot of talk.
a lot of talk.
Not a lot of action.
Not a lot of action, and we need to see actions, not just words.
Right.
At this point.
Okay, so let's dive into some of these intriguing cases that they mentioned.
All right, let's do it.
He doesn't reveal specific locations, of course.
Which is already a red flag.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But he does describe some of the shapes observed: orbs, cylinders, and, triangles. The triangles are getting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, those don't exactly fit the profile of, conventional aircraft or drones, do they?
No, they don't.
And remember, we're not just talking about isolated sightings here.
No.
We're talking multiple eyewitnesses, sometimes corroborated by video evidence.
Yeah, this adds a level of credibility
Right.
you don't get with, your typical lone wolf UFO story.
Exactly.
Yeah. And here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Dr. Kozlowski reveals that one of these unexplained cases has been happening over an extended period.
Hold on.
He doesn't say how long,
Hold on.
but he does say that it's ongoing, which suggests that something truly unusual is at play.
What are they seeing?
Yeah, what are they seeing that's defying conventional explanation?
And why are they so hesitant?
And why are they so hesitant to share any of it with the public?
It's like they're testing the waters.
Yeah.
Gauging public reaction.
Maybe.
Before they reveal anything really groundbreaking.
Maybe they're trying to figure out how to control the narrative before the truth gets out.
Is this a classic disinformation tactic?
It's a possibility we can't ignore.
Right.
The more they withhold, the more they fuel public distrust and speculation.
Exactly.
And that's precisely the environment where misinformation thrives.
That's right. People start filling in the gaps with their own theories, often based on, flimsy evidence or just outright fabrication.
Exactly.
It's a dangerous game that AARO is playing.
Yeah.
And one that could backfire.
It could.
The public deserves transparency on this issue.
Absolutely.
We need to demand more, not just to satisfy our curiosity,
Right.
but for the sake of our understanding of what's truly happening.
Exactly what's happening in our world.
In our world.
Yeah.
We deserve to know.
We deserve to know.
All right, let's take a step back for a minute.
Okay.
And really dig into this roundtable transcript.
All right.
Because there's still a lot to unpack here.
There is.
Dr. Kozlowski also sheds some light on, AARO's approach to investigating these UAPs.
Yeah.
And he emphasizes their commitment to scientific rigor.
Which, on the one hand, it's like, okay, that's good.
I mean, we want them to be taking this seriously.
We do. We want them to be taking this seriously.
Right.
But at the same time, he admits they face some serious challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they often receive reports that just lack sufficient data for proper analysis.
Yeah, I mean, you're not always going to get,
right.
a perfect,
a perfect picture. You're not going to get a perfect video.
People are caught off guard, right?
People are caught off guard.
They don't have the time or the equipment.
They don't have the time or the equipment to really capture what's happening.
Right.
But it does make you question,
the
reliability of some of these reports. How can they draw meaningful conclusions from data that's incomplete or ambiguous?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to be relying pretty heavily on eyewitness testimony.
Which we know.
We know can be unreliable.
Especially when you're dealing with something that is, by definition, unidentified and anomalous.
Exactly. I mean, people's perceptions can be so easily distorted.
By so many things.
Fear, excitement, or just the sheer strangeness of what they're witnessing.
Right.
It can play tricks on your mind.
I mean, he does mention that they're working to improve data collection and retention.
Yeah, investing in new sensor technology, developing better protocols for reporting UAP events.
Okay.
But until those systems are in place.
It's like they're operating with one hand tied behind their back.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that brings us right back to transparency.
Because?
If AARO wants to gain public trust, they need to be more open about their methods and their limitations.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that they don't have all the answers.
Right.
And that they're still figuring things out.
Instead of just hiding behind this wall of secrecy.
Right, which just fuels suspicion and all the conspiracy theories.
It just makes it worse.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're setting the stage.
Yeah.
Preparing to control the narrative.
Maybe?
Dr. Kozlowski mentioned that they'll be releasing some resolved UAP cases to the public soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Even hinting that these cases will include video footage.
Really?
Yeah.
That does seem a little too convenient.
It does, right?
Just as public pressure for transparency reaches a fever pitch, they decide to release some carefully curated evidence.
It's like a classic distraction tactic. Appease the public with some easily explainable cases.
Give them something to chew on.
Right.
While keeping the truly compelling evidence under wraps.
It feels like misdirection 101.
Misdirection 101.
Give the people what they want, but make sure it's not what they really need.
Exactly.
And the sad part is, it'll probably work.
It probably will. People will be so relieved to finally see some official UFO footage that they won't even question the context or the motives behind its release.
Exactly.
It's a cynical strategy.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the public loses.
Yeah, we lose.
We're being denied access to information that could potentially revolutionize our understanding of the universe.
Imagine what we could learn if they were just open with us.
And we're being manipulated by an agency that claims to be acting in our best interests.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It is.
Yeah.
We need to be aware of this game that they're playing.
We do.
We need to keep pushing for real transparency.
Absolutely.
Not just the crumbs they choose to throw our way.
Not just the crumbs. We deserve the whole loaf. We deserve the whole loaf.
But let's not lose sight of the bigger picture here.
Okay.
There's still a lot more to unpack in this roundtable transcript.
A lot more.
We'll be back in our next segment to dive even deeper into the world of UAPs and what AARO may or may not be telling us.
Wait. So picking up where we left off, let's look at who AARO is working with. Dr. Kozlowski specifically mentioned collaborating with NASA.
Now that really caught my attention too.
Yeah.
NASA, the agency that's traditionally been pretty dismissive of, UFOs, suddenly partnering up with the very office tasked with investigating them.
Yeah.
It's a curious development.
It is.
Right? I mean, NASA has always maintained this strictly scientific approach, focusing on explainable phenomena.
Right. So their involvement with AARO suggests a possible shift in their thinking.
Maybe they're finally taking the possibility of, non-human technology seriously.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's all part of a carefully crafted PR strategy.
Yeah, bringing NASA on board lends an air of credibility to AARO's investigation. It's a way to silence the skeptics and say, look, even NASA's taking this seriously.
Do you think they're using NASA as a shield?
It wouldn't be the first time a government agency used another to bolster its own agenda.
That's true. The question is, how much influence will NASA actually have over AARO's operations?
Yeah. Are they going to be true partners, or are they just going to be rubber stamping AARO's decisions?
It's hard to say at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
But given AARO's track record,
right,
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to maintain tight control over the narrative.
Yeah, especially if the investigation starts uncovering evidence that challenges, conventional wisdom.
Or threatens national security.
Especially that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the public's role in all of this.
Yeah.
Dr. Kozlowski repeatedly emphasizes the need for public engagement.
Yeah, he says AARO can't do this alone.
Right. They need the help of scientists, researchers, everyday citizens.
Yeah, they need our help.
To solve this mystery.
Yeah, he's asking for our help, yet at the same time withholding crucial information.
It's a classic double bind.
Yeah.
How can we be expected to contribute meaningfully when we're only given a fragmented and carefully curated version of the truth?
It's a good question, and it highlights this inherent tension between government secrecy and public engagement.
Dr. Kozlowski acknowledges that AARO has been criticized for its lack of transparency. And he pledges to be more open in the future.
Right.
But we've heard those promises before, haven't we?
We have, and yet the pattern of secrecy and obfuscation continues.
It's a cycle that erodes public trust.
Absolutely.
And fuels speculation and conspiracy theories.
It's a vicious cycle.
He mentions this increase in UAP reports over the past year, attributing it to greater awareness and a willingness to come forward.
Which is interesting because it suggests that the stigma surrounding UAP reporting is starting to fade.
So people aren't as afraid to talk about their experiences anymore.
Right, they're more likely to report what they see.
But even as he acknowledges this increased awareness, he cautions against jumping to conclusions.
Right, he says not every UAP report is evidence of something extraordinary.
Right, a lot of these sightings can be explained as, conventional aircraft weather phenomena or even just misidentified objects.
Yeah, he specifically mentions the increase in reports of lights in the sky coinciding with the growing number of satellites in orbit.
So he's basically saying people are seeing these satellite flares. And mistaking them for something more exotic.
Which, to be fair, is understandable.
I mean, those flares can be pretty bright and unusual.
Yeah. Especially if you're not expecting to see them.
Right.
But it underscores the importance of critical thinking.
Right. We need to be discerning.
We need to be skeptical.
Skeptical of eyewitness accounts.
Yes. Look for corroborating evidence.
Right.
Before we jump to conclusions.
And be aware of the potential for hoaxes and misinformation.
Absolutely. Especially in this age of deep fakes and, viral videos.
It's not just about satellites, though.
Right.
There are other factors contributing to this increase in UAP reports.
Like what?
Well, there's been a growing public fascination with UFOs and extraterrestrial life in recent years.
Yeah.
Fueled in part by the release of declassified government documents and the increasing number of high-profile individuals coming forward to share their UAP experiences.
Yeah, we've seen former military pilots, intelligence officials, even senators talking openly about UAPs.
Right. This has legitimized the topic and encouraged others to come forward with their own sightings.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget the role of popular culture.
Yeah.
Documentaries, TV shows, movies, even video games.
Yeah.
All contributing to this heightened interest in UFOs.
It's a multifaceted phenomenon.
It is.
Yeah.
But the question remains, what's driving this sudden surge in UAP activity?
Yeah. Is it simply a case of increased awareness and reporting, or is there something more profound happening?
Dr. Kozlowski, of course, doesn't offer any definitive answers.
Of course not.
Instead, he outlines AARO's plans for the future. Expanding data collection, developing new sensor technologies, deepening collaboration with other agencies.
Like we discussed with NASA.
Like we discussed with NASA, he even mentions improving their communication with the public. Yeah, acknowledging their past secrecy and pledging to be more transparent going forward.
Promises, promises.
Right.
It all sounds very impressive, but we need to see action, not just words.
Actions, not words.
Exactly, especially considering that AARO is now operating under a new mandate from Congress.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Requiring them to provide regular updates to lawmakers and make more information available to the public.
So this new legislation gives them more authority and resources, but it also comes with greater accountability.
They're under more scrutiny than ever before.
Well, they are.
The question is, will this pressure lead to genuine transparency?
Or will it simply result in more sophisticated forms of obfuscation and control?
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
The UAP issue isn't going away anytime soon.
No, it's not.
And as more information comes to light, it's going to challenge our understanding of the world and our place in it.
Absolutely.
But let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
Dr. Kozlowski briefly touches on the scientific implications of the UAP phenomenon, hinting that it could represent a paradigm shift in our understanding of physics and technology.
He suggests that if some of these reported UAP capabilities are real, it would require a fundamental rethinking of our current scientific models.
That's a pretty bold statement coming from a scientist of his stature.
It is.
And it opens up a Pandora's box of possibilities.
Yeah, imagine the breakthroughs we could make if we unlocked the secrets of UAP technology.
Right, it could revolutionize energy production and space travel, our understanding of the universe itself.
But it also raises some serious concerns about potential risks.
If these technologies are as advanced as some believe they could be weaponized, leading to an unprecedented arms race, and potentially devastating consequences.
Exactly.
Which is why it's crucial that we approach this issue with both curiosity and caution.
Absolutely.
We need to understand the potential benefits and risks of UAP technology before it's too late.
Before it's too late.
And we need to engage in an open and honest conversation. About the implications of this discovery.
This isn't just a matter for scientists and government officials.
Right. This is a matter that affects all of humanity.
All of us.
Now, I know what everyone's thinking are UAPs, alien spacecraft.
Yeah.
Is there evidence of extraterrestrial life?
The big question.
The big question, but Dr. Kozlowski predictably dances around this question.
Of course.
He repeatedly states that AARO hasn't found any evidence of extraterrestrial activity.
But as we've come to expect, he doesn't rule it out either.
Right. This careful wording is a classic tactic.
It is.
Allows them to acknowledge the possibility without making any definitive claims that could lead to panic or fuel conspiracy theories.
Right.
And while he might not be saying it directly, his tone suggests he's intrigued by the possibility.
Yeah.
Even admitting that there are some cases he personally doesn't understand.
Wow. Which, considering his background and experience, is a pretty significant statement.
It is.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about the perplexing nature of these phenomena.
It does.
And it underscores the need for a thorough and unbiased investigation. We can't rely solely on AARO's carefully curated narrative.
We need to delve deeper.
Delve deeper. Explore alternative perspectives.
Yes.
And challenge assumptions.
Challenge everything.
Agreed. But let's not forget the long history of UAP sightings dating back centuries.
Centuries.
Dr. Kozlowski mentions that AARO is reviewing historical records.
Interesting.
Trying to identify patterns and trends in these sightings over time.
Which is an important aspect of this investigation.
Right. By studying the past, We can gain a better understanding of the present and potentially even anticipate future developments.
Potentially.
But it also raises the question, why have these phenomena persisted for so long?
That is the question.
If UAPs are truly advanced technologies, why haven't they been explained or revealed by now?
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
That has baffled scientists and researchers for decades.
And it's one that AARO is now tasked with solving.
Right.
But I have a feeling the answers are going to be more complex and unsettling than we can possibly imagine.
More unsettling than we can imagine.
I think you're right. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of this phenomenon.
The tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And as we continue to explore it, we need to be prepared for the unexpected.
Absolutely.
We need to keep our minds open to possibilities that challenge our current understanding of the world.
Challenge everything.
We're entering uncharted territory here.
Uncharted territory.
Absolutely. This roundtable transcript is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
There's so much more to uncover, so many more questions to ask.
So many questions.
But for now, we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
We'll be back in our next segment to dive even deeper into the world of UAPs and the implications of this extraordinary phenomenon. You know, we've been spending all this time talking about, the UAPs and AARO's statements.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I just keep coming back to this feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're watching this really carefully.
It's a dance.
Orchestrated dance.
A dance, yeah.
Between revealing just enough.
Right, to keep us hooked.
To keep us interested.
Keep us coming back for more.
But at the same time, keeping the really crucial information shrouded in secrecy.
In secrecy, yeah. It's the age-old game of government transparency.
Or the lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof, right? Well, it's this unspoken agreement where they're acknowledging that these things exist.
Right.
But they're only giving us information in very carefully measured doses.
Little bits and pieces.
Little bits and pieces, yeah. Always maintaining that level of plausible deniability.
It's like they're saying, we haven't found evidence of extraterrestrial activity.
Right.
But they're leaving that door open. Just a crack.
Just a crack, just enough to keep the public intrigued.
Right.
Without causing widespread panic or, upsetting the status quo.
It's a balancing act.
It is.
That they've honed over decades.
Oh, yeah, look at the history.
Right.
The Manhattan Project, Watergate, the NSA's mass surveillance programs.
Every time public outrage erupted.
Yeah.
Every time the government weathered the storm.
They weathered the storm, and they're likely to use the same playbook here.
Release just enough to satisfy the immediate curiosity.
Yeah.
Keep the most sensitive details classified.
Yeah, and when pressed?
Cite national security.
National security.
As their unwavering justification.
It's a convenient shield. It's almost impossible to argue against.
Right, because who wants to risk national security?
Right.
By demanding the release of potentially sensitive information.
It's a classic catch-22. The public wants the truth, but they also crave security.
And the government exploits that tension.
They do.
Uses it to control the narrative and safeguard their own interests.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. Do you sense a shift?
I do. I think the public is becoming increasingly skeptical, less willing to accept explanations at face value.
You think so?
I do. I think people want to see the evidence, not just hear carefully worded statements.
I hope you're right.
Yeah. I think there's a growing distrust stemming from, past government cover-ups.
Makes sense.
And that distrust is amplified in the age of information.
Because of the internet.
Because of the internet, right?
People are able to do their own research.
Exactly. Connect with others who are asking the same questions.
Challenge the official narrative.
Challenge the narrative. Yeah, there's this burgeoning community of UAP researchers and investigators.
Who are really digging deep.
Digging deep and demanding answers.
This isn't going away.
No. This is not going away.
And the government is going to have to adapt.
They are.
They can't maintain this level of secrecy indefinitely.
The pressure for genuine transparency is mounting.
It's building.
It's building. Yeah, and eventually they're going to have to acknowledge what they know.
And answer for their actions.
They will.
It's only a matter of time before this dam of secrecy breaks.
It's coming.
And when it does, it'll be a defining moment.
It will reshape our understanding of the world.
And humanity's place in it.
We'll be entering a new era.
A new era where truth and transparency are paramount.
Yeah, where governments are truly accountable to the people they serve.
And most importantly, an era where the mysteries of this UAP phenomenon are finally brought to light.
Finally brought to light.
It's a future worth fighting for.
It is.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I urge everyone listening to stay engaged.
Keep asking questions.
Keep asking questions and to never stop seeking the truth.
Never stop.
Keep your eyes on the skies and your minds open The truth, as they say, is out there. Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.